Hey there everyone, I'm meteorologist Cassie Nall and this is your 10 weather impact recap for the week. Let's start with a look at some of the top weather stories from around the country. The sun has set for the final time this year in Utqiagvik, Alaska, formerly known as Barrow. The sun was up for a whopping 48 minutes on Wednesday and will not rise again until January 22nd, more than 2 months from now. This community is the northernmost town in the United States and in all of North America. Being north of the Arctic Circle, they will be in polar night for 64 days. Meanwhile, here in East Tennessee, the combination of extremely low humidity, dry vegetation, and some gusty winds caused wildfires to pop up across the area this week. This is video of a fire that popped up on the Anderson and Knox County line Monday afternoon. Thankfully, the flames were quickly contained, but this is a good reminder that we are in our fall fire season. It only takes a few days of low humidity this time of year to raise the fire danger, and it's always a good idea to be fire-wise. In California, parts of the Sierra Nevada mountains are buried under snow. A strong storm dumped several inches of snow across various elevations on Monday, and more could be coming later this week. The storm was welcome news to ski resorts as they get ready to open for the season. The resorts are hoping skiers and snowboarders will begin arriving on the slopes in the next couple days.
Thanksgiving is kind of the big first week for Tahoe. So with that, you can see Truckee going to start getting real busy. Beds are going to start filling up. The restaurants will be bustling. And that's when a lot of these ski resorts always plan their projected opening date. If you look around the lake, it's anywhere from this week to next week.
The same storm system is bringing snow to the mountains is also dumping heavy rain in the lower elevations, causing flooding and mudslides in areas that were affected by the Palisades and Eaton fires back in January. Wildfires leave a burn scar where there is little to no vegetation left to anchor the soil, increasing the risk of landslides, debris flows, and mudslides. This leads to more runoff, erosion, and potential for flash flooding, like what you've seen in this video from Oak Glen. In Los Angeles County, people are still trying to rebuild after those deadly fires back in January, but the rain is putting a damper on their plans and progress. Here's the story from Southern California.
As the rain fell in Altadena, pounding of progress was faint, but for one family, the pitter-patter on their makeshift roof was music.
Compared to last time, night and day.
When Sakina and Jacques Laramie gave us a tour of what will be their new home in Altadena. But instead of a roof, they have vinyl billboards keeping it dry.
Now we're dealing with the weather. We have finished hardwood floors and paneling downstairs that we really need to protect from getting wet.
You see, they had just moved into their home in Altadena 10 days before the Eaton fire. And after their home burned down, they didn't build new. They saved a century-old home scheduled for demolition and moved it to their property. But last month's rain almost washed it away.
And it was just like bailing water out of a sinking ship. It was terrible.
So this week they had old billboards donated and they used duct tape to make it ship shape.
For the last 2 days, we've had neighbors and friends come over and help us patch the entire roof.
It's gonna be a while before we actually get it back into shape.
A mile away, John Marino's rebuild is delayed again.
And the rain, of course, has held us up.
His foundation was scheduled to be poured this week, but with the threat of rain, everything got pushed back.
Hopefully by the end of next week, we will actually have groundbreaking for our foundation.
How frustrating has this been for you?
Not at all. No, this has been a lot of fun.
I sense some sarcasm there, John.
Just a little bit.
As all over town, homes are in different states of rebuild, some with frames, some with foundation, some still empty.
So far, it is way better than it was.
As for Gwen and Jacques, they're just looking up, smiling, since their invention seems to be keeping the water away, and hopefully, when it stops, they can get back to building their dream home.
2 months in the house we bought and 6 months in the trailer.
In Minnesota, one utility company has announced plans to install 38 cameras that will help detect wildfires across the state. Gordon Sefferson has more.
Welcome to Hugo Training Center.
Every year, thousands of utility workers are trained here in Hugo to be ready for power outages and severe weather.
We have to stay on top of this.
And when storms hit, there's often the risk of wildfires.
We are seeing climate change across our system and really an increase in wildfire risk.
Xcel Energy is hoping new cameras will help them identify those fires faster than ever before.
These cameras are incredible. They scan 10-mile radius every minute.
The cameras are designed and managed by Pano AI.
We're looking down on areas of fire risk.
A company that has already installed cameras in 14 other states, as well as Canada and Australia.
The latest around artificial intelligence and satellite capability to provide that advantage.
The cameras are typically installed on cell towers.
You can see here it's fairly small.
They scan their surroundings, constantly looking for smoke and heat signatures.
We have billions of images, and we're essentially looking at this landscape continuously to see is that smoke or not smoke.
And if the smoke poses a threat, they call the local fire department to check it out.
To get an early fight on this is key.
Joel Schmidt is the fire chief in Matamiyai. He says their community will soon have 3 of these cameras, but he believes the greatest benefit will be in rural areas where fire departments are often several miles away.
There are rural areas very hard to access, and if you don't get a jump on it right away, it absolutely can turn into hundreds of acres.
Xcel Energy is hoping these cameras will protect their power lines and infrastructure, as well as homes and wildlife, to give firefighters precious time to stop the fires before they get out of control.
Now is the time to be proactive. Now is the time to make smart investments in our system to stay ahead of the risk.
Parts of the Northeast look like a winter wonderland after persistent area of low pressure brought early season snow to the region. This is video from northern Maine where up to 6 inches of snow fell earlier this week. In fact, we might be able to nickname this month Snowvember in the Northeast. The Mount Washington Observatory in New Hampshire has already received almost 4 feet of snow in the first 15 days, more than a foot above their average for the entire month. This video shows workers clearing the deep snow from around the weather observation equipment. Mount Washington reaches an elevation of almost 6,300 feet and is known for its wild weather, with wind gusts over 200 miles per hour having been recorded at the summit. Meanwhile, in Colorado, ski resorts are having to get creative due to a historically low amount of snow. The Centennial State is experiencing its 3rd worst start to fall and winter snowpack on record. Mark Salinger shares this story from the Rockies.
There's more wind than snow today at the top of Loveland Pass. From up here, you can tell why this is the 3rd worst start to a fall and winter on record in Colorado when it comes to snowpack.
Because there's no snow at the top of the mountains, but we're gonna get it here. We're gonna get it.
Down the pass, ski areas are opening with little help from Mother Nature.
Snow's good, vibes are good. It's not too icy. There's some good pockets to slash some snow.
It's undeniable that we would not be skiing and riding if we didn't have that team out there at crazy hours of the night doing what they do.
Shayna Silverman with Arapahoe Basin knows there's been very little natural snow up here so far. It's also been relatively warm up in the high country. For example, Vail and Georgetown each had 13 consecutive days with at or above average temperatures, including today. At A Basin, their team has had to find the best times possible to make as much snow as they can.
This run looks really different from the rest of our mountain right now, and that's absolutely thanks to our mountain operations team, our snowmaking team, our groomers.
From A Basin to Breckenridge to Keystone, everyone's open, but it's the same view at the top of every mountain. A lot of rocks and not much snow.
So we had some really good help from Mother Nature in September and early October. That being said, temperatures have definitely gone up since that date.
This early in the season, ski areas are always reliant on snowmaking to open any runs, regardless of how much natural snow comes down.
I heard we're gonna get a snowstorm coming in though, and we're pumped for that.
Out here, they'll focus on getting some early season turns in.
Maybe, I'm no weatherman.
And leave the forecasting to the pros.
Whatever those snow superstitions you have, make sure you're doing them. We're ready to start skiing some more terrain.
Also out west, states that rely on the Colorado River for water have to come up with a compromise to share that water, or the federal government could step in. Reporter Will Pitts looks at the impact of that potential water loss and the politics that are standing in the way.
It would be quite worrisome if there isn't progress toward an agreement, real progress toward an agreement announced on Wednesday.
The deadline is looming. Wednesday, 7 states have to agree on how they want to use the Colorado River. There's less water than ever, more people than ever, and no one wants to use less.
There's no more, room to move the goalposts.
Sarah Porter with ASU's Kyle Center for Water Policy says the question is over a 100-year-old document, the Colorado River Water Compact, and whether it says the northern states have to give water to the southern states.
The upper basin says we don't have that obligation the way the lower basin says. Of course, the lower basin says yes, you do.
If there's no agreement by Wednesday, the feds could step in and make one, except there's no permanent head of the Bureau of Reclamation. There almost was.
If Ted Cook had come on, we would have had a person who was already an expert.
There's nothing like having a presidential appointee that's confirmed by the Senate that's going to be there for a few years to really have the kind of gravitas to be able to make these kind of deals happen.
Ted Cook wanted to be that guy. He almost was that guy. Ted was the head of Central Arizona Project, managing the Colorado River water for Arizona, and now the head of the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority. He knows water, and this, he says, was weird.
But I've never really seen it become this politicized.
Ted was nominated, then unnominated. The White House told him it was problems with his vetting paperwork. Ted heard different.
And I heard from lots of people that I know that said that's not the reason, Ted. The reason is that the upper basin states are objecting to your appointment.
For 100 years, this system has been managed through consensus of the 7 states, and it would be a huge departure if we got to a point where we couldn't get to an agreement.
With Veterans Day being observed last week, Raven Little introduces us to one deserving serviceman who helped change hurricane forecasting forever. Wayne Freeman is a retired U.S. Air Force pilot in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, who became one of the original hurricane hunters, and his service left a lasting impact on science.
Wayne Freeman's Air Force career ended at Keesler Air Base in 1984, but it started 30 years before, fresh out of high school in a little town in Indiana.
Had joined the Navy Reserve out of high school and was interested in flying, but their requirement was you had to have 2 years of college, which I did not have. And so the Air Force had a very vigorous advertising campaign and said, hey, come fly with us.
Freeman says he got his commission in wings at the age of 21. Then he became a training officer in the aviation cadet branch, where he trained about 250 students. After about 4 years of teaching, Freeman attended the University of Wisconsin and got a degree.
But the Air Force paid more.
So he returned to the Air Force Reserve as a reserve technician. But in 1973, everything changed.
And when they formed the unit at Keesler, I was one of the 5 original members of the hurricane hunters when they came to Biloxi.
Freeman says it took 2 years to get a tactical airlift unit going, recruit and pass inspections.
Our first hurricane mission in 1975, and I was there as the head navigator and operations officer, ended up the commander in 1984 before I retired. Flew 162 hurricane penetrations in that time, in that 10 years, and loved every minute of it.
Freeman went from dropping troops and supplies in the battlefield to flying sideways in severe weather.
It's just not going straight in. You go straight in, you got 120-mile-an-hour wind blowing you sideways. So essentially what you're doing, you're going around that system sideways, if you're looking at it from the ground.
Freeman and his late wife, who he met in the Air Force, gained a new way of life and forever friends from the service.
It was special, it was a privilege, it was an honor to serve. And that's, looking back on it, it's the only words I got.
Now let's get a check of your 7-day forecast. Over the next couple of days, we keep mild temperatures around and off and on rain chances. The combination, though, of that milder air and the precipitation means we don't have to worry about any wintry weather this time around, but you will want to keep the umbrellas handy and keep an eye on that radar if you've got outdoor plans. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, you can always get the latest on the forecast in that 10 News app. It's free to download in the App Store.